Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dan, the voice behind ThatKaitoDan and the Kaito Cooper, and welcome to the second of my RWBY Vol.3 reviews. Before I get into this though, I just want to quickly say thank you to everyone, because this channel has recently hit 200 plus subscribers. I thought I would be very lucky to hit 100, let alone 200, but again, thank you to everyone who has subscribed to me so far, really means a lot to me. Thank you. Anyway, last week's episode was a great return for the series, with both charming emotion and fun action, and it hopefully helped a lot of people's worries settle down a bit. But of course, this week's episode had to try and follow on from that. So with more fights on the tournament card, did it keep up the pace, or did it drop the ball? Spoiler warning for anyone who hasn't kept up to date on the show, or seen the episode in question. And now let's kick off the review for episode 2 of volume 3, New Challengers. We start off right from where we ended off last week, with Team Juniper facing off against Team Bronze. While it looks to start out with an all-out brawl, Bronze's lone female takes roost in the trees like a happy little camper and starts sniping away, forcing John to call for a tactical retreat. I'm gonna quickly pause here and give a brief info dump on Team Bronze. Firstly, a correction from my last review, the blue jacket clad dude who's named Nolan Porfirio actually wields a baton, not a sword. He's voiced by Rooster Teeth's Aaron Marquise. The only other member named and voiced as well is the team's leader, Bronze Knee, the gauntlet fighter being voiced by another Rooster Teeth face, Blaine Gibson. Back to the fight, Nolan takes on Ren, who gets roughed up a bit trying to fight back, as well as dodge the sniper shots at the same time, and ends up getting zapped by Nolan's baton. Nora gets jolted too, but with a very different result. Because as Dr. Oobleck and Professor Paul kindly point out for everyone, Nora's semblance allows her to produce, and in this case conduct, electricity, and is able to turn it into extra juice for her attacks, which Nolan sadly just gave her, and it sends him reeling. Just in time too, as the mounting environment is forming a storm as its effect, and Jean once again shows a quick tactical mind, telling the pink lightning rod to head up towards it, and for Ren to cease the sniper's cover fire, much to the poor guy's dismay. A couple of clashes between the numbers, and we see Jean's improvements isn't lost on Weiss, which given her past put-downs on the lad is rather nice to see. Pyrrha does wonderful taking on two of the Bronze boys, and Ren slides on through to wrestle with Nolan, being wise to scout out for the sniper with him as a meat shield. But Nora's caught the sniper's eye now and would have been easy prey if not for Jean and Pyrrha quickly covering her back, leaving Nora time to charge up with a He-Man pose and finally flush the sniper out with some supercharged grenade shots. Juniper has them on the ropes, so Jean calls in a Team Flower Power attack. Yep, it's a callback to the RWBY ship name tag teaming of last volume and the ship names for these lot, making for a nice bit of fan service comedy, even if you take some of the logic out of it. I mean, Team Bronze just stands there while Jean tries to bring his team up to speed on his tactics and the meaning behind Flower Power and Arcos. Also, on that bit from Pyrrha asking Jean what they are and her wanting it to be clearly defined, you and most of the fandom, Missy. I swear that was done on purpose there from the writers. Bronze have had enough and halts the shipping debate. Poor Jean just gives up and tells Nora to drop the hammer. The little lady obliges and Team Juniper eventually gets the win. We cut now to... God damn it, Bob! The crowbar. With a fitting customer watching the fights. Yep, it's Uncle Qrow at last, voiced by Vic Mignogna as revealed at RTX. The experienced huntsman isn't really looking that pleasant. It's interesting that his first time on screen is showing up as an alcoholic, especially after being built up as this big legend of a huntsman, and yet here he is slurring away in a bar. We're moving now on to the next fight, with Team Indigo facing off against Team Sun. Time for another team info dump. Indigo is a team created via a backing goal for Rooster Teeth's laser team Indiegogo, the reward being used by the cosplaying Qrow of Event Horizon Cosplay, who not only aided in the design concept for the team, but also provided the voices. The team includes Nebula Violet, whose base weapon is a crossbow, Gale, who wields a trident motif spear, Gwen Darcy, who uses throwing knives, and Octavia Ember, who wields a creased blade. Gotta say, right off the bat, I really like these four's designs. It's more of a mix of a fighter and casual that makes them stand out a bit amongst other Vacuo-based faces. It's nearly time to clash with Team Sun though, who seem to have some strong fans. Even this chap here who digs Scarlet. Speaking of Scarlet, him and Sage have finally debuted proper, so let's look into them. Sage Ayana is voiced by Joshua Ornelas, who's a machinimator for Rooster Teeth. Sage is based on Aesop, and we finally see his weapon is a giant-ass sword. The suspected Scarlet Pimpernel-inspired fighter is Scarlet David, voiced by the colourful Brit Gavin Free. Neptune gets some well wishes from Weiss, but he seems to be distracted as the four ladies of Indigo pique his interests, earning Weiss's anger. So the battlefield is set, as a Vacuo favouring sunny desert is one biome, and the other is a seashore, complete with wrecked ship and plenty of water, much to Neptune's dismay. For you see, despite his name and origin being based on the Greek god of the seas, Neptune is afraid of the water. The guy's just full of issues, isn't he? So much so that when the match finally kicks off, he hightails it to higher ground. We see Sage starts off with Dew, and if we look at his sword, it has an indent line right up the middle of his blade, which makes me think that it splits apart to make its second form. We sadly don't see it used much, as Sage gets whisked away by Dew forming twisters. No clue if that's a semblance power or if it's been used via dust, but either way, Sage gets eliminated early. Octavia uses, I believe, fire dust that's embedded in her crease blade to shoot out hot waves and sand clouds at Sun and Scarlet. However, after getting stumped by Neptune, Octavia gets a big dropkick to the face via Sun, making use of his namesake's bright light. A few bashes from his staff evens things up 3-3. Dew though is still a major hassle, and sends Scarlet up into the air soaring. He does land safely on the ship though, and after some well-synced moves from Nebula and Gwen, it gives the crossbow packing lass a way up to him, switching to a sword for some swashbuckling combat. The redhead gets the upper hand in the end, and via grappling hook on his firearm, temporarily ties up Gwen, thankfully dodging her falling knives in the process. Sun's having trouble trying to hold Dew, so he goes for plan C. I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts, diddly-dee, there they are, standing in a row. Big ones, small ones, some as big as your head. Give 'em a twist, a flick of the wrist, that's what the showman said. Sorry about that. Anyway, Dew bats away Sun's rather unique range fire right into Scarlet's face and, well, his own set of coconuts, and he ends up eliminated. Team Sun is in deep trouble, and Neptune is still being a scaredy cat, keeping well away from the water, only helping out at last after Sun calls him out on that fear, giving him the right push to seal the deal, as he tiptoes his trident into the water and fries the remaining Indigo girls, gifting his team the win. Cue the chest bump, awkward dancing, and poor hating on Oobleck's pun. Ouch. And cue now a very drunk Qrow, brushing off the qualities of the fight scene so far. His drinking ends at last, once the tipsy huntsman's eye is alert to a rather unique airship coming in to land. It seems like it's his target, and may be carrying the reason for the guy's current habit. So the dancing dogs are through to the next round. Sun is pleased, Blake is blushing, and that's all for today's fights. Good timing too, as we end the episode off with Weiss spying that airship about to land at the arena, and seems to be happy with what it may bring. It's time, folks. Winter has come. And that's the episode. How do I feel about it? Negatives and positives time, and as usual, negatives to start. Now, this first one might be a bit of an odd one, but Sun's teeth really threw me off towards the end of his fight. Some of his speaking parts had his teeth really emphasized, and it kinda took me out of the fight. Just with how his mouth moved, didn't really fit with what he was saying, like he was chomping through every word. The other negative is the points in the fights where, when it went for comedy, it can be a bit of a whiplash for some with how logic is ignored. Both Team Bronze and Team Indigo wait around and don't take advantage of their opponents wasting time debating, and to some this may be a bit of a stretch, considering this is a competition. The comedy was still good, don't get me wrong, but while it didn't ruin the episode for me, I can see that its willingness to drop logic might be a bit of a turn-off for some people. That comedy is the first positive point I'll mention though. This episode following last week's had even more action in it, but it also mixed in more of the usual RWBY comedic touch at the same time, and thankfully it was still very enjoyable, mostly from the antics of Nora, who is always a delight, and Jean and Neptune being goofs. The episode had 2 fights this time compared to last week, and both of them were wisely played out differently, not just from each other, but also their previous episode. The first episode's fight was more of the RWBY norm, with a lot of flair and style. Juniper's fight here had tactics as a focus, with a more comedic end, and Team Sun's was more working off a team very much at home in the environment chosen and having a teammate having issues. It really makes me wonder how future fights will be planned, and what differences they'll have to help them stand out. Team Juniper also gave a lot of positives in this episode. A big one being that it didn't feel like it was the Jean and Pyrrha show with Nora and Ren in the background. The dynamic and focus was the team as a whole. We saw their improvements as a team, and the comedic moments included them all. No member felt like an afterthought. That's not to ignore the clear signs of Jean's growth as a leader though. While he may be a dunce at times, in fact a lot of times, the episode did highlight his capable tactical mind, especially when under pressure. Even if it did all end with some ideas falling apart and Nora being used as the instant win button, it was nice to see growth in him as a leader, since most of his improvements seen are as a fighter. He is the leader of the team, so it's good to see how he's coping in that role. Quickly to end this segment, the fan service moments, Neptune's very cartoony animations, as well as the backing track for the Sun and Indigo fight that was perfect for a shoreline brawl and almost felt ripped right out of the Pirates franchise. They are all extra positives for me to highlight. For this week's voice acting praise of the episode, it's kind of a tough call. While all of the cast, even the guest performers, were all strong in their own ways, if I had to pick one, I'll say it goes to Kerry Shawcross as Neptune, because of how well he did both the flirt and the fool in this episode. So yeah, while I do feel this episode still had some negatives on show, it didn't fall flat on its face after last week's very strong opener, and blended in the comedic elements of the show with the action just well enough to make for a fun time watching. Plus, it left off with a very tasty tease. We know now that winter is here, and it seems a Qrow, who is definitely rough around the edges, is looking for a fight with said Schnee, which will be interesting to see when you imagine that might make things awkward for Ruby and Weiss. But for now though, this was a very solid episode, headed into the extra long wait for the next one, as the show takes a break for Rooster Teeth's extra live stream. Can you wait that long though? Did the second episode of the volume gain praise from you, or did you find it lacking? Let me know down below in the comments, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and check me out on Twitter for any updates, news, or other bits of ramblings from me. And until next time, have a good day or good night, and peace out.